Hello, everybody. Welcome to Northshore Online. We are so glad that you're here this morning. My name is Samantha.
And I'm Brandon. Welcome again. We're getting in the Christmas spirit around here, as you can tell. We're super excited for this season. And we would love to hear from you. If you're joining us today, would you just say hi in the comments and also tell us where you're watching from? We'd love to know and connect with you in any way we can in this season.
And be sure to share the stream. It has been so amazing to meet so many of you who are new to Northshore, because so many of our people shared the stream on Facebook or sent out a link in a text message. It's been so awesome to connect with you all.
Yeah, totally. Because there's someone in your life who could really use this message today. So be bold, send it to them. And because we believe that Jesus can change absolutely everything for anyone. And that's what we're all about. So bring some hope to your neighbors and your friends and your family members this season. Send it to them.
Yeah, and be sure, if this is your first time joining us, text Northshore to 97,000. Our team would love to connect with you, help you find your next step here at Northshore. So be sure to do that. But Christmas is here, like you said, Brandon. We are
I'm ready. I wear this every day now. So.
It's so good. It's just so your vibe with the band and everything. It's wonderful.
I like it. Thanks.
Have you guys decorated for Christmas yet?
We are still holding to the day after Thanksgiving thing. So we plan to do that.
Okay.
Day after Thanksgiving.
Okay. So, except it's
after
Thanksgiving already.
By the time this happens, I guess yes. So Back to the Future wise, yes, we've already decorated.
What I love now too is that it's socially acceptable to decorate. Everyone is allowed to decorate now, because I know there was a lot of controversy about whether or not
pre-COVID, when are you allowed to decorate?
Well, yeah, and just people before Thanksgiving, it's a hard no, you cannot decorate. We did.
Nice,
so
good for you.
We broke the rules, but whatever. But we're celebrating Christmas this morning, and the fact that we are starting our brand new Christmas series called It Would Take a Miracle. So we're going to play a game this morning.
Nice.
We're going to play Antler Ring Toss, and we'll be right back with that, because we got to get all set up here.
See you soon.
Okay, we're ready to play now.
Okay.
So I'm going to go first, Brandon.
Okay.
So we have to take a little bit of step back to make it actually a thing.
Am I allowed to move around while you throw it, or do I have to stay still?
I guess. Okay. But help me out here.
All
okay.
Right. I'm trying to help
20 seconds on the clock. Anyone? Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Set, go.
Excellent.
Okay. Oh. Over. Oh. Okay. Oh,
nice
I got one.
work.
I got
Keep going.
One. Okay. What do I have? Brian?
10,
5 seconds?
9, 3.
Oh, I got another one.
Oh, so she got 2?
Ding, ding, ding. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
I got 2. Beat that, Brandon.
Right.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes. I'm going to put my mic down.
Okay. This is serious. Okay. On your mark.
Can you slide yours forward?
Sure. I'll hold it like that. Okay. On your mark. Get set. Go. Do we have some Christmas music? Oh, nice job. You got it. You got it. Did that go on, or is it in the middle of my head?
So is that.
I'm trying to help you out by moving. I don't know if it's helping. Ding, ding, ding. Wow. All right.
I feel like that counts.
I highly recommend this game.
It's a good game.
That was really fun. I think we should try to take these off now, because it's going to fall off anyway. Wow. Alrighty. Well, if you are just joining us this morning, welcome to Northshore Online. We are so excited that you're here with us today. And we're just celebrating Christmas, little game. But we also have Giving Tree happening, which has been, the response from our church family has just been incredible. Hundreds of kids have been sponsored so far, and we need to keep going because we have a goal.
Yep.
What's our goal?
1,500 kids.
1,500 kids. So if you don't know what Giving Tree is, basically $25 sponsors a child. This Christmas, it'll give them gifts and a meal at Christmas. And when you do, you can actually come in and pick up an ornament, just like this one. And do you want to tell them what it has on it, Brandon?
Yeah, it has the child's name and their age and what area they live in. And so give you an opportunity to pray for them and their family during the season, hang the ornament on your tree.
Yeah, super cool. So to get all the information, you can go to northshore.church/giving tree. You can sign up there to sponsor a child or 10 children, as many as you want. But service is about to get started, but before it does, we're actually going to take a look back at last week. Wolfgang concluded our series, Soul Food, so go ahead and take a look at this.
He lifts me up, in other words, even when there are new restrictions, even when my business has to close or my job is uncertain, even with my kids struggling with at-home school, even when I'm nervous about the future, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. He is my hope. He is my strength. And this pattern shows up again and again and again. In the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of struggle, in the middle of darkness, people make the choice to worship, to acknowledge God for who He is and what He's done, even when they don't feel like it, and even when it isn't easy. And what happens? They find their souls nourished. They regain their perspective. They honestly address the issues in their own hearts. They remember that God is with them. Friends, things change. Maybe not all the circumstances change, but at a soul level, things change.
What an amazing series that was for all of us. I loved what Sue said a couple weeks ago. I loved Jonathan's message, just reminding us to worship in this season. And it really was a valuable series for my life group and for a lot of our life groups too. Yeah. It is so crucial that we invite Jesus into that space in this season and not compartmentalize our spiritual life from our emotional life, from our relational life. It's all one life, and God wants to be a part of all of it. So, and if you are looking for a life group right now, that is a huge part of what I get to do on staff here at Northshore is help people connect in life group. And especially in this season, we all need it. So reach out to us. You can just reach out directly to me if you want to. I'd love to help you find a group so that we stay connected in this season and not be isolated. So.
We love our life groups here.
We do.
Our life group had some amazing conversations as well throughout this Soul Food series, and we're really looking forward to our new Christmas series called It Would Take a Miracle, which starts today, obviously.
Today.
So the team is just about to get started. Let's worship together, and welcome to Northshore Online. We're so glad you're here.
We are so glad you are joining us today. My name is Mitch, and I'm on staff here, and it is Christmas season. So we're going to sing a Christmas song this morning. I hope you'll join us. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare Him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Nations bow, mountains shake at the sound of just one name. Over all, Jesus reigns. I know. Nations bow, mountains shake at the sound, just one name. Over all, Jesus reigns. I know. See that? There is a King of glory. There is a God who saves. One who is strong and mighty. Freedom is in His name. So open the gates of heaven. Lift up the shout of praise. There is a lion roaring. Jesus, the King of glory.
Well, for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to Northshore Online. My name is Jonathan Wolfgang. I'm part of the team here, and we are so glad that you're with us today. Giving Tree is off to a fantastic start. I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, and we're already over 1,000 kids sponsored. I mean, that's about 2/3 of our original goal. But what's become clear is there's so much need in our community and our world right now. As you know, many of the kids we're supporting, they've been identified through our relationship with the local school districts. They've been identified through a partnership with a prison ministry that's supporting kids who have a parent in prison. But we've learned about another chance to make an impact for another 100 kids through our connections in this area through the foster care community. So as good a start as we're off to, now is not the time to let off the gas. One of the things I've always loved about this church is Northshore, you've always stepped up in big ways when it comes to needs and opportunities like this. And what could happen if we blow that original goal away and we're able to be even more generous with even more kids? See, I believe we can do it, and I think this is our chance. I've talked with people who are being creative, inviting neighbors and friends to be part of Giving Tree this year. One person who challenged everyone at work to be part of it. See, this is our opportunity to shine brightly in this challenging time. And of course, don't forget, this afternoon is your chance to come by to our Kirkland campus in person and to pick up your very own Giving Tree ornament. I'll be here along with some other members of our team, and we would love to see you this afternoon from 1 to 4. I hope I'll see you then. You know, Jesus said it is more blessed to give than to receive. And many of you know that. You know the joy that comes with being generous. And you continue to give, not only through Giving Tree, but through our ongoing ministry here at Northshore. And on this Thanksgiving weekend, we want you to know that we are so thankful for you, for your partnership in this ministry, for the difference that we're making together for our community in Jesus' name. And if you'd like to be part of giving in that way, you can give at the link there on your screen. Now, it's only 26 days until Christmas. It's hard to believe. And so today, we're kicking off our new Christmas series called It Would Take a Miracle, celebrating that original miracle of that very first Christmas. And Scotty has a fantastic message for us today. I'm glad you're here to be part of it. Check it out.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to Northshore and to the official kickoff of Christmas season. Today is the first Sunday of Advent, but let's be honest, some of you have had the Christmas tree out or the decorations up for weeks already, right? Because it's been that kind of year. About a month ago, Nina came home saying she couldn't believe that the store she was in had Christmas music playing already, and I was there in the kitchen with Joy to the World going at like full blast. Because if there's ever been a year where we could all use a good old-fashioned Christmas miracle, it's this one. Especially since this is going to be such a different kind of Christmas season. Some of you have traditions with family or friends that can't happen this year. Some of you had to cancel a trip or postpone a wedding or a major event. Some of you have in-laws that you can't see, which, if you're honest, is kind of an answer to prayer, right? Well, Christmas is going to be a little different here at North Shore as well. Our Christmas Eve services are going to be online on December 24th at 2, 4, and 6 p.m. And just so you know, the service won't be on demand because we want to celebrate together like we normally do. So you'll have to pick a time and then show up on time just like you normally do. And to make this year special, we're going to mail everyone in our church a Christmas Eve gift that we'll all open together as part of the service. So don't open it ahead of time, okay? God is watching. And then for those of you who may not be connected here yet, you can text North Shore to 97000, and we would love to get you connected, especially during this Christmas season. But given the year we've had, we also wanted to find a way to celebrate safely in person as well. So we're hosting 2 nights of Christmas carols right here in our parking lot on December 20th and 21st at 6 p.m. It will be 30 minutes of caroling, a reading of the Christmas story, glow sticks for kids, and we'll have the biggest tent we've ever assembled just in case it rains. So you'll want to RSVP online just to make sure you get a spot, or more accurately, a socially distanced circle to stand in. And by the way, you can find all this information online at northshore.church/Christmas. But the most important part of our Christmas experience isn't what we are doing, it's what we're giving. And I have to tell you, the response to our Giving Tree initiative has been absolutely incredible. Yes, we're asking 100% of you to give, but we're giving 100% of it away. And you know what we've asked those families to do for us in return? Absolutely nothing. This is just about love. So get online, sponsor a child for Christmas. For you, it's just $25. But for a family in need, this could be the miracle they've been waiting for. Which brings me to the Christmas series we're starting today called It Would Take a Miracle. So here's my question. Has anyone else ever been in a situation where you thought, I need a miracle? Or to get through the situation, it would take a miracle? When I was in college, I remember taking a class called Calculus 41. And what I quickly discovered was I wasn't ready for Calculus 41 or Calculus 31 or Calculus 21. Heck, I wasn't ready for Calculus 1, but somehow I ended up in Calculus 41. And when it came time for the first midterm, I remember seeing a bunch of problems that looked something like this. Now, I have no idea what this means now. And just so you know, I had no idea what this meant back then. So I just kind of panicked. In fact, I'm feeling a little anxious looking at this screen right now. And so I glanced around the room, hoping to see other students looking equally confused, but they were all writing stuff down. Some were even smiling as if they were enjoying this experience. And so I didn't know what else to do. So I just started to pray, God, I need a miracle or I'm going to fail this test. Anyone else ever prayed for a miracle before a test? I once heard someone say that there will always be prayer in school as long as there are tests in school. So I prayed for a miracle, and then I started writing stuff down, trusting that God would speak to me. And he did. I remember hearing 2 simple words, English major. Turned out okay, I guess. Or how about this? Have you ever prayed for a miracle in your car? Maybe you were late for an interview and you were hitting red light after red light after red light, and you didn't know if you wanted to pray to God or swear to God, but you were thinking, I need a miracle if I'm going to get there on time. Or how about this? Have you ever prayed for a miracle in a relationship? God, help me find a date. Or God, help me keep this date. Or God, help me get out of this date. Anyone ever prayed that one before? Hopefully it wasn't about the person you're sitting next to right now. You know, sometimes we need little miracles like that. And then sometimes we need much bigger miracles, don't we? Miracles that feel like a matter of life and death. A couple years ago, my dad had a bike accident, and the impact of the fall caused his brain to start bleeding inside of his head, but the doctors didn't know it. A few months later, my dad woke up and he couldn't move his leg. And then by the end of the day, he couldn't walk. It was like his whole body was shutting down. And so they went to the hospital, and the doctor said, there's bleeding in your brain, and we need to do an emergency surgery to relieve the pressure. My dad asked what the risks were, and the doctor said, the risk is that you don't wake up the same person, or you could lose your memory or your motor skills. There's even a risk you don't wake up at all. And I was 2,000 miles away trying to process all this news, wondering if I would ever see my dad again, or if he would ever recognize me again. And I just remember saying to God over and over in my heart, God, we need a miracle. God, we need a miracle. And praise God, my dad came through that surgery okay. But I would wager pretty much all of us have had a moment where you said, God, I need a miracle. Maybe there's been a diagnosis that's put your health or someone you know, their health at risk. Maybe there's a broken relationship in your life. Maybe there's an addiction you can't overcome. Maybe you're in a season of financial crisis, or maybe you've been battling discouragement or depression or physical pain, and it feels like you need a miracle just to get up in the morning. You know, it's interesting, across every culture, in every era of human history, people have asked, have hoped for, have prayed for miracles. And in spite of all of our technological advancements, in spite of the fact that I can stand in my kitchen and say, Alexa, order more dog food, and 30 minutes later there's a bag of dog food at my door, which is amazing and kind of creepy. But in spite of all that progress, when we find ourselves in situations that feel impossible, we don't just shrug and say, whatever. We say, God, I need a miracle. I mean, even people who struggle to believe in God hope for miracles. And I think Christmas is the best time of year to ask the question, do miracles really happen? I mean, can God still work miracles in our lives? Because Christmas, you see, isn't a story about gift giving or peacemaking. It's a miracle. I mean, think about it. The story of an infinite and all-powerful God who became a helpless baby in a manger, that's not just improbable, that's impossible until it happened. That's actually a great way to define the word miracle. A miracle is something impossible until it happens. Something impossible until it happens. And so, for the next few weeks, we're going to unpack some of the impossible until it happened moments in the life of Jesus, leading up to the greatest miracle of them all, God coming to be with us. And today, I want to start with one of the most impossible stories ever recorded in the Bible. It was written down by a man named Luke, who wrote one of the 4 accounts of Jesus' life. And Luke, as many of you know, wasn't just a writer, he was a doctor. He actually traveled extensively with the Apostle Paul, most likely providing medical care for Paul throughout his many afflictions and persecutions. Paul actually called Luke the beloved physician. And that's important because the story that Luke tells us is one that any doctor in his day or in our day would say, that's impossible until it happened. So if you have a Bible, you can turn to Luke chapter 7. You can also follow along with me here on the screen. Starting in verse 11, Luke writes this. He says, soon afterwards, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. Now, up until this point, Jesus had been traveling throughout the region of Galilee, healing the sick. That's why there was a large crowd following him. He had cast out demons. He had healed Peter's mother. He made a disabled man walk. He cleansed someone of leprosy. He healed the servant of a Roman centurion. All these stories were powerful and wonderful moments. But think about it. If you were a skeptic, you might say, well, these were all, within the realm of possibility. People can recover. Bones can mend. Nerves can repair. The body's an amazing thing, Maybe these stories are more about good fortune than miracles. But you can't say that about what happened next. So Jesus comes to this little town called Nain. It was a full day's walk from where he had been staying, and it's the only time they ever went to this little town. It's almost as if he had to go, and he had to go that day. And he rolls in with this huge entourage, all the disciples and a large crowd, and as they approached the city gates to go in, there was another crowd of people coming out. Luke says this: as Jesus approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out. Now, Luke, who's the doctor, is being quite technical in his language here. This is a dead body. No life, no pulse, no breath. And according to Jewish customs, the body would have been cleaned, anointed, wrapped in grave clothes, and then carried on a wooden stretcher to be buried outside the city. And this was not just the funeral for any dead person. Luke tells us that this was the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and a large crowd from the town was with her. So Jesus shows up in a moment of total devastation. A widow has lost her only child. Just think of the deja vu she would have been feeling. She had walked this road once to bury her husband, and now she's walking it again to bury her only son. I mean, that's devastating in any context, but it's even more so for her. Why? Because you see, in that day, to have no husband or children meant she had no means of support, no viable status in the village, and no one to care for her in her old age. And Jesus would have not have just seen the crowd, he would have heard it from a long way off. See, in Middle Eastern culture, grief is not a private or quiet expression. It's loud, it's screaming, it's wailing. In fact, it was customary in that time to hire people to grieve even more loudly so that the family could grieve without making a scene. So here comes Jesus, totally uninvited. No one called for him. No one sent word to him. I mean, think about it. So many of his other miracles happened because people came to him saying, Jesus, I need a miracle. Like the friends who lowered a disabled man through a roof, or the woman who reached out and touched his cloak, or the people that brought a blind man to Jesus and begged him to heal him. But in this case, no one asked him to be here. No one expected him to be here. And I can imagine when she heard that this famous healer had come, her first thought was, well, he's too late. I mean, I prayed and prayed and prayed for my son, just like I prayed and prayed and prayed for my husband, and now they're both gone. By the way, have you ever felt like God was too late? Maybe you've been praying for something and God hasn't answered the way you wanted. And you're starting to wonder, does God even care? Because if he cared, he would have shown up before you lost your job. If he cared, he would have shown up before your spouse left you. If he cared, he would have shown up before your savings account was empty. And by the way, that's your story. You're not alone. The Bible is filled with stories of people who believed it's just too late. Think about Abraham and Sarah waiting for a child. Think about the Israelites being enslaved for centuries in Egypt. Think about David as he was running for his life from King Saul. Think about Esther as she was facing the extermination of God's people. Think about Daniel being thrown into a lion's den. That's about as too late as you can get. But they all made a decision to trust God anyway. And that's faith. Faith, you see, isn't just believing God's existence. It's trusting God's timing. It's trusting that whenever God shows up, he's right on time. And as messy and painful as this funeral procession was for that grieving mother, Jesus was right on time for what he wanted to do. And when he arrived, in spite of the crowds of people, guess what? He saw only one person. And it wasn't that dead son, it was the grieving mother. Luke says this: when the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry. Don't cry." It's just so simple. It's just so tender. I don't know if any other moment in the gospel is quite as tender as this one. In fact, the best analogy I can think of for this moment is that of a parent coming alongside a scared and hurting child that's feeling pain they don't understand and saying, "Don't cry, little one. Don't cry." A few weeks ago, our daughter Nora got too close to a cat that wasn't in a very good mood, probably because it realized it was a cat. And it snapped at Nora and clawed her in the face. And not only was that terrifying for a 3-year-old, but it left several marks kind of running down her face. And when Nita found her, she grabbed her up and said, "Don't cry, little one, don't cry. You're safe with me. And the cat is going to go be with Jesus now." By the way, anyone else shed any tears this year? Did anyone else experience loss this year? Is anyone else carrying what feels like an impossible burden this year? Like homeschooling your kids, or living in isolation, or facing unemployment, or battling depression? Here's the thing. God sees you. And here's what's better. His heart goes out to you. And he doesn't say, "Where is your faith?" or "Don't you know what I can do?" or "When are you finally going to believe?" Like the perfect father, the tender father that he is, he says, "Don't cry, little one. Don't cry. I'm right here." You see, when Jesus walked into the middle of that funeral, he didn't come with an answer. He was the answer. He was the miracle that she needed. Some of you right now are praying for God to change your circumstances, when that's not what you need most. What you need most is for God to step into your circumstances, for God to step into your mess, for God to step into your pain. Because when God steps into your circumstances, when you let him take control of the scene, no matter how messy or painful it is, that's when the impossible starts to happen. Just look what happens for this woman. Luke says, "Then Jesus went up and touched the bier they were carrying him on, and the bearers stood still." Because you see, to touch the body or the stretcher would have made Jesus ritually unclean. You mean God is willing to get his hands dirty for our sake? Impossible, till it happened. And then get this, he speaks not to the pallbearers or to the mother, he speaks to the dead guy. He says, "Young man, I say to you, get up." You mean God can overcome death and tragedy and injustice with just a word? Impossible, till it happened. And then Luke, as if to make sure that we understand Jesus is talking to the guy who died. No life, no pulse, no breath. Luke says, "The dead man sat up and began to talk." And by the way, wouldn't you just love to hear what he had to say? Like, "Where am I?" or "Get me out of these clothes," or maybe even, "You'll never guess what I just saw." Impossible until it happened. And I love this line, Luke says, "And Jesus gave him back to his mother." I know that some of you have lost a lot this year. You've lost someone you love. You've lost a relationship. You've lost work. You've lost your sense of security. You've lost doing what you love. You've lost your joy. You've lost your hope. That mother in the story was on her way to bury the one last hope she had until Jesus came. He didn't come just to make her feel better. He came to give her back what she had lost. Friends, that's what the hope of resurrection is all about. We get it all back. All that sin had stained, all that injustice has taken, all that evil has overshadowed. I love how a pastor named Tim Keller put it. He said this, "Resurrection is not just consolation, it is restoration. We get it all back, the loved ones, the goods, the beauties of this life, but in new, unimaginable degrees of glory and joy and strength." Impossible, you say? Of course it is. Until it happened. And when it did, those two great crowds who witnessed this entire scene were amazed. Luke writes this, "They were all filled with awe and praised God." And it doesn't say that some were or many were. They all were filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. "God has come to help his people." You see what's happening? This funeral is now a celebration. Their grief has been transformed to joy. And the most remarkable part of this story, most remarkable part of all this, it was based on nothing that they did. The text doesn't say they had great belief or passionate faith. They were just carrying a dead body. And the disciples who were there the entire time basically just disappeared into the background like extras in a movie. Because you see, the hope we have in Jesus is not based on what we can do, it's based on what he can do. Now, does that mean that our faith doesn't matter? Of course not. It takes faith to trust that the story is true. It takes faith to trust that God can do this in your life. But at the end of the day, our hope is not based on the strength of our faith. Our hope is based on the presence, the showing up of our God. And by the way, that's what the Christmas story is all about. Think about it. The shepherds weren't doing anything other than tending their sheep until God showed up. The Magi weren't doing anything other than charting the stars until God showed up. Joseph and Mary weren't doing anything other than planning a wedding until God showed up. I once heard someone say that Christmas isn't proof that we were faithful in our waiting. It was proof that God was faithful in his coming. God has come to help his people. That's the message of Christmas. And that means even if you think it's too late, Jesus can make a way for you. Jesus can open a door for you. Jesus can repair a relationship for you. Jesus can break an addiction for you. Jesus can restore a loss to you, even raise a life for you. Jesus can bring back what you've lost in your marriage. Jesus can heal what's been broken in your heart. Jesus can restore what's been missing in your sense of purpose every day. He can open a door to what you never believed was even possible. And that means whatever's happening in your marriage or in your family or in your career or in your health, your pain is not the end and your story is not done. Think about it. That widow would have been absolutely convinced that this funeral was the end of her story until Jesus came and said, "Don't cry, sweet mother. Don't cry. This tragedy is not the end, it's just the turning point." So what if God isn't asking you to wait until 2021 or the pandemic is over to experience new life and new hope? What if God has an impossible until it happens moment in store for you? What if the darkness you're facing right now doesn't have to be remembered as a tragedy? What if it's your turning point? You know, some years ago, some friends of mine had to bury their son. He was 8 years old. He died after a 2-year battle with cancer. And as a father, I have no idea how anyone can survive a road like that. But what I do know is that it was in the midst of that darkness that Jesus showed up. Listen to how they describe it. These are their words. They said, "This may seem strange, but we have never experienced God so intimately and so powerfully as when we were in the midst of our suffering. Don't get us wrong, our son's death brought us profound pain. We prayed hard, as so many people did. We resolved to trust God, but it was difficult. But it was as hard as we looked, we couldn't find any verse that promised that God would take away sickness and death. What we did find, however, were promises of how he would be with us and provide for us." And they said this, "Our lives will never be the same, but out of the depths of our misery, God parted the heavens and reached down. He didn't take death away, but he took away its sting, and in its place, he made us feel his faithful and abundant love, and for that, we rejoice." Rejoice. From tragedy to turning point, from a funeral procession to the promise of resurrection. And when that day comes in all its glory, when Jesus comes back that one last time, my friends, like that grieving widow, will get their son back. And that's our hope. And it only comes from Jesus. There's no other way. There's no other road. Only the God who showed up in a manger and died on a cross and walked out of a tomb can do this for you. The question is, do you believe that? Are you willing to risk everything to place your hope in Jesus and his plan and his timing, no matter what you're walking through? You know, when I think about that grieving widow and what she was feeling when her dead son sat up and began to talk, I can't help but think about another widow in the Bible who lost a son, Mary, the mother of Jesus. She'd already gone out to bury her husband, Joseph, when her son Jesus was arrested. She was there when he was beaten. She was there when he was crucified. She was there when he was wrapped in grave clothes and taken through the city gates to be buried in a tomb in the side of a hill. No life, no pulse, and no breath. But then 3 days later, that dead man sat up and began to talk. And I can imagine once again, he got to say to his mom, "Don't cry, sweet mother, don't cry. I told you this tragedy was not the end. It was just the turning point." I mean, what else could explain why in the book of Acts we find Mary gathered with the other disciples, no longer a grieving mother, but now a devoted disciple, ready to share the good news that there's still hope, there's still a plan, there's still a God who so loved this world that he turned his tragic death into our turning point. Impossible, you say? Of course it was, until it happened. And he can do the impossible in your life too. He can do the impossible in that relationship. He can do the impossible with that addiction. He can do the impossible with that story, that secret, that regret, that struggle. Because God has come to help his people. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to let him help you. So if you would all close your eyes for just a moment, and let's take a moment and just talk to God. So with your eyes closed, let's pray. Maybe right now you've never fully put your faith in Jesus. You've never made a clear decision to trust him. Well, today could be your turning point. And so you can just say these words to God right now. God, thank you for coming to help me. Thank you for coming to die for me. Thank you for forgiving my sins on that cross. Jesus, today I am placing my trust in you and in your plan and in your timing. You can make those words your prayer. And by the way, if that's your prayer today, let us know. We would love to walk with you and help you discover how to live in this great hope. Don't let this moment pass. Reach out. Today could be your turning point. And for those of you who've already placed your hope in Jesus, what if God is calling you to be that miracle for somebody else? To show up in somebody else's life, even if it's messy, even if you don't have all the answers. Maybe God is putting a name on your heart right now, a person for whom you need to show up, a person that you could be that miracle for. Jesus, you are our great hope because you showed up. And what you did for that grieving widow, you can do for us today. You can make a way. You can open a door. You can forgive a sin. You can restore a relationship. You can heal a hurt. You can even raise a life. So do it again, Jesus. Do it again for our sake and for your glory. And we pray this in your glorious name. And everybody said, amen.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today at Northshore Online. If you made a decision to follow Jesus today, we would love to hear about it. You can send us a message directly. You can even comment in the comment section. However you want to reach out, we want to hear about it. We want to help you take some steps in your faith.
And we are so excited to be celebrating communion again with each other with drive-through communion next Sunday, December 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. right here on our campus. So we hope you'll come on by and celebrate communion with us. But again, we are so thankful that you were here with us this morning. We hope to see you back next week right here at Northshore Online.